This is Richard Solomon with an incredible episode of Taking Care of Business with the Great Throwdini, who happens to be the recipient of the Merlin Award, one of the highest honors in the impalement arts. And if you missed it and you didn't catch it, he is a world-renowned knife thrower. This is his knife, and this happens to be a knife from his collection that belonged to the great Harry Houdini. Now, we were talking before the break about the veiled double wheel of death, and you were talking about this second wheel. By the way, what makes the wheel spin, and how do you make sure that the wheel spins exactly at the right speed for you? Because I'm sure that's part of the timing.
We're working on that. I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
So the veil, I had this new wheel that I got from HBO, and I realized it can hold two girls. And of course, being who I am, that wasn't good enough.
So they were sort of like this, right? You know,
yeah, one
heads
head
up,
up,
heads
one
down.
head down.
Okay, right.
So I wanted to do that veiled, and I did it, and I received. It was at the 103rd Salute to Magic for the Society of American Magicians, and I performed that veiled double wheel. It was the first time it was done in history, and some of the top names in knife throwing contacted me, and they said, not in my wildest day did I imagine, even think about that stunt. Never mind that had I thought about it, that it could even be done. And you did it. So they were very, very supportive of me.
What was going through your mind when you actually did it? Were you going like, holy cow, it's really happening? Or?
Well, a lot of practice went into it. And I had both girls wearing fencing masks, just in case there was an issue. Precaution, precaution, precaution. And when the veil was on, and I had somebody standing behind the wheel starting to spin it, I actually looked and I said, it wasn't going fast enough. And I was yelling to the guy, faster, to get that wheel up to the speed that I wanted, which is just about 1.1 seconds per revolution with the two girls on it.
So that goes back to the question,
Now
which
we'll go back to...
is this a hand-cranked machine?
No.
Okay.
I always stand in the front. If it's unveiled, I just grab the shoulder harness and I spin it and step back. When it was veiled, we had to basically spin it from the spindles of the veil and someone behind the wheel pushing the cross struts like this to keep the speed up. Because when somebody's on it, they're not perfectly balanced.
Well, sure, because you have two different people at different weight.
One or two, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just that weight on there would, on its own, causes the wheel to slow down and to speed up and slow down based on whether their body's coming down or going up.
Wow.
So,
a lot of nuance.
we're in the currently, as we speak, the wheel is under construction again by my assistant target girl Lynn, who's got an engineering background and structural background, and she's mounting a motor on the back of the wheel. So we can now fine-tune that motor to run the wheel at either 1 second per turn or 1.1 second per turn, whatever is appropriate for what show I'm doing.
So is this wheel 3.0?
Yes, that would be wheel 3.0, exactly.
So so you've done this blindfolded too.
Yes, I do stunts blindfolded, and another paper stunt that I do, which I'm the only one that I know has ever done it, is, and then of course I raise the stakes on everything I do, and then I make it even harder.
So you raise the bar for yourself.
I raise it for myself, and I make sure that anybody chasing me, I leave them in the dust. That's just the way it is.
So you like the guy in the marathon who's like in the lead and then looks behind to see how far you're ahead?
And then takes off even faster. My regular board is 4 feet wide by 6 feet high. And normally, if I have one girl in the act, she's behind a paper veil, 4 feet wide by 6 feet high. So I envision where she is, and I throw 3 knives up one side and 3 knives up the other, right around the body. She drops the paper and steps out. So to up the ante on that, I decided I would do it with 2 girls behind the paper, which means there's essentially a few inches to throw into. So I visualize where they are, and I throw 3 knives on the outside of one, 3 knives on the outside of the other, and then 3 knives right between them.
Wow. Wow.
Then I had to raise the stakes again. Pitch black theater to a strobe light, and I do that stunt. It is extremely difficult. The first time I tried throwing knives in a dark room to a strobe light, I was falling all over myself.
Because you were like disoriented from the light?
Completely disoriented.
Yeah, okay.
So I practiced throwing in a black room to a strobe light to understand that sensation of my steps and not having a constant look at the board, because you're only getting flashes of it as the strobe light is going. So I practiced that, then I put that into the act. 2 girls, black theater, strobe light. And so if I'm working with 1 or 2, I'll either do the 1 or the 2 for that.
Wow. So when you practice, so the assistants that you have to have on stage with you have to be part of the practicing, because the people who turn the wheel have to know how to turn it. You have to know what their rhythm is. So this is a lot of synchronization of rhythms.
There's a lot going on, yes, quite.
There's a lot of, to put it mildly, there's a lot of moving targets.
It's a lot more than a board, a girl, some knives, and a thrower. A lot more. And the audience doesn't see that. They're just simply watching the performance.
How do you know when you're ready to take a new performing event out into a theater? Like, how much preparation? I mean, there's going to be thought, there's engineering, there's construction, there's practicing. So how does that all work?
As an understatement, easily 100 hours might have to go into change one thing, or to change 1 minute of the act takes hours and hours of thinking to make that fit. It's just not as simple as, let's take this out and put something else in. Because all those stunts are in a specific order for a certain reason, and now you want to change just one thing, you have to figure how that affects the flow of all the other stunts.
Right, it's like the butterfly effect. If you kill a butterfly here, like, then the world changes or something like that. Yeah.
I'm the only one, is another one and only that I do. I have the audience member, about the 2nd or 3rd stunt in the act, come up, and we fool around with the guy. I pretend I'm going to do a magic trick, and I let him take a deck of cards. He freely looks at the deck of cards, picks out any card he wants. I give him a magic marker, which I just happened to find in my pocket. It was there from the last act. I felt it here before. He signs the card, sticks it back in the deck, and I simply say, well, if I were a magician, I might care about that card, but I'm a knife thrower. I don't care. But while you're here, I have something else in store for you. And then my assistant will put some balloons. She'll have him hold the balloons. She'll put a balloon between his legs. Then I put a hood on, pretend I'm going to throw around him blind. And yeah, better you than me. I pull the hood off. She puts the hood on the guy, and we proceed to break the balloons, one between his legs and one at each arm. And then when that's over, the guy takes his seat and we continue through the act. And then after the paper veil stunt and they think the act is over, I go, just one more thing. Lucky, what was your card? And the guy remember, he showed it to everyone in the audience. It's signed. He'll say the Queen of Hearts. And you wrote your name on it, didn't you? My assistant takes the cards and springs them in front of the board. I throw a knife. Boom! Pull that knife off. Was that your card?
And of course it is.
It's the signed card. And then I walk off stage, I walk up the aisle, I hand the guy the card.
As a memento?
Yeah. Yep, and come back up on stage and take a big round of applause.
Wow. By the way, that is really cool.
Thank you very much.
These are great stories. So
thank you.
So how do you actually teach? You teach.
Yes.
How would you take what you know, which is hundreds of hours of thought? And by the way, when do you sleep at night with like a pen and pad and kind of like wake up and think of things and write them down? Because
no, I lie there thinking about a lot of stuff. a lot of stuff about the act, and of course the safety and the flow, and there's a lot I think about a lot.
So how do you teach? How do you teach what is essentially something that is a innate feel?
Okay.
To some extent.
Then we can get a whole discussion on that. However, to sum it up, I now give knife classes at Gotham Archery in Brooklyn.
Okay.
That's a plug for Gotham Archery.
There you go.
Good for them. They were smart enough to think we should have some knife throwing here, and it worked out very, very well for them. They maybe booked 20 students every other week.
Wow.
The first timers, then there's repeaters. And you know, like anything else, there's a natural skill that you may have, or you may not. And I see out of 20 people, there might be 2 that are just sticking them beautifully. Half spin, 1 spin, 1.5 spin, tomahawks, they can do it all. Just, you know, it's a little bit of coaching. I tune them up right away. They got it. I know they got it. And then there's others that don't get it.
The hacks.
They just don't get it, okay? And, you know.
That would be me.
For lack of a politically incorrect statement, some guys throw like a girl. Now, of course, don't start calling me up and screaming to me
Don't
about
call
what
the
I just
station.
said. But, you know, you watch, I was a physical education teacher. And there would be, and you could see, not only as a teacher, you could see who in the class is good and who isn't. Even the little kids, you know, right away. And also, isn't it interesting that when you ask this kid and this kid to pick their team, they know right away which ones to pick, because they know which of their friends have that natural talent in dodgeball or whatever team they're forming. So, to me, I see who has that natural talent, who doesn't. Everyone can stick a knife. Some will do it on their first throw. Some won't do it until their 100th throw. And between the first and the 100th, I've made probably 10 or 15 corrections that I'm trying to get them to do something right to make them stick it. So even though they're throwing it wrong, I could see the mistake they're making is just a little distance issue. And even though they throw it wrong, and if I can't seem to get them out of the incorrect motion with their arm, I will change their distance and make them stick a knife. Then, of course, once they stick it, I start backing them out of the incorrect way until they're doing it the right way.
So when you're first learning, what kind of knife is your preferred student knife?
I have them use these.
Wow. So here you go. So this. So in a quick knife throwing lesson, because how much? Just I want to ask we have 4 minutes. Okay. Thank you. That, by the way, that's Peter, our sound engineer and cameraman for today. So thank you, Peter, and thank you, Chris, and for all the people who help support today's effort. What's the proper way to hold it? If you would give me a quick tutorial on knife throwing.
Knives are either thrown by the blade
Okay.
or the handle. All the blade spins are called a halves. Half spin, 1.5, 2.5. I hold the knife like this, wrap my fingers around it, and my thumb right there on the side. So it's not out of my hand, it's in my hand, fingers wrapped around. Then I bring it back. I hit the chair. I extend my arm like this, and right when the knife is exactly straight up at the sky, my hand slides off and the knife continues to turn. The first quarter turn doesn't count. Now from here to sticking in the wood at 7 or 8 feet would be a half spin. Then you step back another maybe 3 feet to 11 or 12 feet and hold it by the handle, same grip, and then knife does the same thing. The hand slides off right here, makes a quarter turn that doesn't count. Now the point is facing the board. It's going to make 1 full spin and stick. Wow. Then I go back to 1.5, 2, 2.5. And when I did that 101 feet, I think I had to throw the knife like 30, 40 feet high. As it's spinning, boom, and then drop down and stuck in the target. Whereas when we're close up, it's pretty straight.
Now, when you're throwing the knife, could you actually, is it in your eye, can you see it spinning? Or
Yes.
is it too fast? Or you're trained to see it?
At a half spin, it's there in less than 0.2 of a second. So from my hand, I can feel that throw, and I know I'm going to make it stick perfectly. Same thing at one full spin or 1.5 at about 15 feet. But the sweet spin is that 1.5, because you can actually see it making that turn in the air. When you go out to 2 spin, it's a little too far and you have to throw it higher, but that 1.5 is the sweet money shot throw.
Wow. So we only have 2 minutes left. So
Okay.
I saw on your website, you actually caught a bullet?
Yes, Ripley's, believe it or not, did a cartoon about me, which I like to say that has made me a piece of Americana. And
I've interviewed the publishers,
Okay.
Book Expo America, so very famous people.
I caught a bullet, an arrow, and a knife. The reason they did that cartoon is because I'm the only one to do all 3. Others have done bullet catch, others have done arrow catch. I created the knife catch. So I figured I'd put all 3 together. And Chris McDaniel was the one who threw the knife, and he's the guy that fired the bullet, and he's the guy that shot the arrow. And one right after another. I caught the knife, then we did the bullet catch, then we went outside, did the arrow. All 3, it was recorded. Ripley's picked it up and made the cartoon.
Wow. That was an exciting hour of radio, but for all the people that will have an extra bonus because you have a museum that we're going to take a look at.
Throwdini Central.
There we go. So this is Richard Solomon. Thank you
Oh,
so
my
much for
pleasure,
being
Richard.
an incredible part of an hour of fun radio and entertainment and great stuff. So thanks for listening. For all those watching, thank you for being part of our YouTube audience, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching and listening.